The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And this is episode 148.
148.
What is our topic today?
This is how wounds can be gifts.
Very cool.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah, and it's kind of comes right after what we talked about last week, really. It's almost like a part two, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, before we hop into it, anything you want to recap from last week?
Yeah, last week we did letting go of painful experiences, and we got a lot of good response to that. Like I said, a couple people said part two, so this is almost maybe a little bit of that. And then I did get a couple of messages that I thought were funny that I wanted to talk about real quick.
Okay.
And they were actually about the same thing, is, are you speaking to me with the things that you're saying on your show? Like, actually, my new brother even asked me this. Like, he felt like I was talking to him, like I was trying to tell him something. And then I had a client that said, are you trying to tell me something that I need to know through what you said? And I just wanted everybody to know that I don't ever come into these episodes thinking I'm going to say something because it will stand out to one person or another.
Right.
Things that come out of my mouth, they are not directed at anybody in particular, but if they resonate with you, then take them. That's what they're meant to do. The other side talks through me through most of the episode, and so they're really just giving those things to the people that they know, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, God, if there's, I don't know how many people are listening to this, but quite a few.
Yeah.
And I could imagine that some of these things that we talk about do ring true for more than one person at a time.
Yeah.
So I believe that that's the universe's way of getting your attention.
Yes.
It's like you're relating to something.
Yep. I actually, a lot of times things will come out of my mouth that I'm like, I could take that as a piece of advice for myself.
Yeah, of course.
So I even resonate sometimes with the things we talk about on the show, like, that was for me. That piece of advice was for me as well. So, yeah, I just wanted everybody to know, if I know you, I'm not singling you out, but take it if it resonates with you, for sure.
Oh, I feel like when we're sitting here doing this often, I'll have these reoccurring, like, epiphany type of feelings or thoughts of like, wow, I needed to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because
somebody needed to hear it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get those too.
Cool.
Yep. So we answer 2 questions every week, so let's answer those questions.
All right.
The first one is from Charlie. He messaged and he said that he healed his fiance. He said, I healed Chanel the other day on Valentine's Day. She was feeling nauseous and I healed her. I couldn't believe it. She told me she didn't feel nauseous anymore and that she could feel my energy taking the nausea out of her. I started to feel the nausea myself. It was crazy. But then the next morning I woke up super exhausted. Do you think I was exhausted because it was my first time ever healing physically? I thought that's a great question, and this is a great subject to talk about because I don't think that a lot of people even realize that this is a possibility, and this is something that I've been working on a lot myself. Whenever, like, the dogs have the hiccups or I have the hiccups or you have a backache or something, I will try and do that myself, and it does work if you are focused enough. What happens is that energy has to go somewhere. So when you're trying to heal somebody, like for me and what Charlie and I were talking about after he sent this, is we visualize pulling that energy out.
Right.
So I have to be in my headspace and then visualize pulling that energy out. Well, the energy has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So it goes usually into the healer. And then we have to get rid of it. A lot of times it will come on as the same kind of thing, like he's saying, the nausea. It'll come on like that. Or it might come on just like the physically tired. There's a lot of different ways that you might see it. But I think for him, one of the reasons, and this for healers too, is that he didn't get rid of the energy afterwards. He took it in, but he didn't meditate or anything to get it out.
Right.
So really the most important thing after you do a healing like this is to get rid of that energy yourself. It's to do whatever kind of meditation works for you. You can sit and listen to music and just be quiet. Visualize that energy leaving, you know, thank the universe for helping you heal that person, and now ask to be healed yourself of what they gave to you. Being a healer is a very tiring job. Even if you do it every once in a while, it's, you know, there was one day that you had a really bad backache. Remember, it was really bad, probably one of the worst I've seen. And I was like, oh no, because usually these start then it's like a week long that your back is out. And so you were in the bedroom and I was outside, and I just visualized healing you of the back pain, pulling it out. You didn't even know I was doing it. 10 minutes later, you walked out of the bedroom and I was like, whoa, wait, that was just crazy.
Yeah.
Because it does work. It really does work. Even the person doesn't have to know you're doing it either. It's wild. So,
when you've done it, even when I'm aware, like if I lay down and you're doing it, you know, Reiki on me, and you'll kind of ask me how it's feeling. And for sure, it's definitely made a difference.
Yeah. And the dogs know when they have hiccups or something. Zuma will even look at me now like, are you going to come take care of this for me? And a lot of times it's very, because I'm still really learning about this, it's very much about with him where I put my hand while he has the hiccups. I have to find that exact right spot. And as soon as I find it, it's done. It's every time. It's so cool. But it absolutely can be done. And congratulations, Charlie, for being able to do that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. But yeah, next time just meditate it out afterwards, and I think you'll probably feel better. But that's very common. People get tired after healing, for sure. So the next question is from Amanda. This says, I'm not sure if this question has been asked before. My apologies if it has, but I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on negative energies attaching to you. For example, I've heard that if you go somewhere that is haunted, a negative energy could attach to you. Or if you watch a scary movie in your home that is about bad entities, spirits that are evil, you could be inviting them in and they could attach to you. I would love to know your thoughts and views. So I'll tell you right away that neither one of us believe in negative spirits, demons, anything like that. So when you ask, can you watch a movie and have something attached to you like that? No. Yeah. But in a situation where you might be like in a so-called haunted house or someplace where somebody died, you could pick up the energy. You might feel that energy. And if you don't know what you're feeling or how to get rid of it, it may feel like something has attached itself to you. But it's not a spirit. It's just the leftover. Like we were talking about before, energy has to go somewhere. Right. So sometimes if there's like a murder or whatever, it'll take a while for that energy to go away. Even like we had a mass shooting here in town, and you and I went and drove by there not long ago, and we both said you can still feel it. You can feel the heaviness. All these years, it's been like 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Yeah. That kind of stuff does linger. So if you're sensitive to it, you can absorb it and take it with you. Watching movies like that, like I used to be able to watch those kinds of movies and not have it affect me, but now it affects me. It makes me feel weird. I don't know how to explain it. It's not like energy's attaching itself to me. Right. It just feels like I don't want to watch this. This isn't, I don't know. It's just, so you may feel that, especially, if you're sensitive again, but as far as like inviting something in negatively, no, it's all in our minds.
I mean, you know what? I enjoy certain things for certain reasons. I can sit and watch a scary movie if I'm understanding that this is fantasy. This is imagination. Okay?
Yeah.
I might struggle. Like, I could still appreciate The Walking Dead or something like that, going, wow, like the time and effort that they're putting into it and the realism of it is cool. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty cool. It kind of lost me, like storyline after a while. I was like, okay, this is going to go on forever because it's the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
So I lost interest. But I could still appreciate those types of things for what they are.
Yeah.
If my perception is telling me that this is something that's real, then you're going to create this realism in your life, in your mind.
Yes.
That something is gotten from the television in this movie into you, or from some abandoned building that maybe bad things happen that's attached itself to you.
Yeah.
If you walk in this reality, it will become your reality.
Absolutely it will.
It does not mean that anything has attached itself to you. If by chance there was some sort of, let's say, evil spirit, which I really don't believe in, you could simply just command it to be, to leave.
Right.
I mean, but again, we have a lot of different souls and a lot of different lives that have been led and come and gone. And we don't know the reasons for everybody's exit and the energy and what happened, but there's energy left over.
Yeah.
And that's what we're feeling.
Mm-hmm. And they want to tell their story.
It doesn't mean the dead people are hanging out there.
No, not at all.
They're not.
My first religious, experience, I don't want to call it spiritual because it was more based on religion, was after I watched The Exorcist for the first time. That movie scared the hell out of me. And because I thought at that time in my life, I was 14 years old, I thought that could happen, that people, there are exorcisms, this could happen. I slept with a Bible under my pillow. That was the first time I felt myself get attached to a God because I was so scared of the possibility of that happening. And it was my own perception. And that went on for a while. Right. And I even feared that movie, Halloween Horror Nights. We used to go to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios, and they did an Exorcist maze. And I think that's probably the only time you've ever seen me scared.
That was a good maze.
It was.
I got to say, they did a good job
but
on that.
I wouldn't look at it because I have leftover trauma from what I did to myself after that movie as a child. It wasn't the movie itself. It was just the emotional damage I did, the thinking about it, the worrying about it, and all that. We create it. We do it to ourselves. It's purely entertainment. Even the ones that say based on a true story, they are so far stretched.
We weren't there, to know, but it was supposedly based on a true story.
Yeah.
And then there's ones that aren't, that we've been led to believe, like Amityville Horror. Yeah. Not a true story, okay?
The Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, not a true story.
No.
But supposedly Exorcist was based on a true story. Again, I think that's when that actually occurred was maybe the 40s?
Yeah, it was early. Yeah.
So what did we know about mental illness and things like that?
That's exactly what it was.
So... Yeah. But it was being treated from a religious standpoint. Yeah. That's all. But yes, my mom hated that movie too because her brothers and sisters got her to watch it. They was like, you got to watch this movie. But she didn't want to watch it, and they just got her at the moment where whatever her name is, I forget. Reagan screaming at the priest who happens to have the same name as my mom. Yeah. So she's saying Father Marin, and my mom was like, whoa. I'm out.
I would be too.
I'm outie.
I would be too. Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't really believe that anything really can attach itself to you.
No, not at all. It's all about our perception.
Yeah. You are your own energy.
Yes, exactly. So I hope that answers your question, Amanda.
Yes.
And actually, the reading that we're going to do, or I'm going to do today, is kind of similar to this, and that's why I chose this one today. Okay. This is from Patricia. She says, this is my granddaughter, Haley Rose. She is 7, and we are very close. A few years ago, I took her mother to a reading. Within a couple of minutes of starting, my daughter came running out of the house. The medium told her that a large group of people came forward out of concern for Haley. Do you see anything around her to worry about? And you know what? Just before I even look at Haley and get into this, I don't understand why a medium would try and frighten somebody. That bothers me because I would never, ever, ever tell one of my clients something to frighten them like that. I would get the reason. Mm-hmm. If there's a large group of spirits around, why? Mm-hmm. What is it? I would never, ever leave a client like that. So know that if those things happen to you, not all mediums are like that. No, definitely not. So let me check in on Haley. This is something... I know Patricia well. She's an original listener. We've known each other for a while now, and so I feel comfortable doing this reading for her. But, if you're in my group, I won't do a reading of a child in my group. I just won't. So let's check in on Haley. Haley's very bright. She's very, very intelligent, very smart, very witty. I I don't feel anything negative around this child. I mean, as you know, like we just said, as far as negative spirits go, we don't really believe in those. And I definitely feel nothing but love around this child. You know, we have in our lives, and we're going to talk about this today, things that happen to us. We all do. It's inevitable. Things are going to happen. But I don't see anything that should cause you any concern for her. I see her, like the visions that I'm having are showing me her as a teenager, as like I see her graduating high school. I see her getting married. There's no, like they're showing me glimpses of her life, showing me that there's no reason for you to be concerned about this. What I'm picking up is that this woman, if this reading would have continued, would have asked for more money for curse removal, is my feeling. Yeah. And I have had that happen to me myself from people that claim to be psychics or mediums, and this is what gives us a bad name. Yeah. One of the things. A good psychic or medium will never ask you, like, say, I need to remove a curse, and do anything like that. Right. We won't, like the other day, here's a good example. I had a reading for somebody, and I can help their situation. They have 4 dogs that aren't getting along, but I can't do it in one reading. I just can't. And so I said, it was an hour reading. I said, why don't we take this and do a half hour now, and then you can come back and we'll use the other half hour for check-ins. And not only did they say no to that, but they gave me my first ever tip. I got a $50 tip from that reading, but I was honest with them. I wasn't wanting to take their money. I really, truly want to help them. And a real good psychic will say those kinds of things. They will tell you, I'll work with you because they don't want to take your money. That's not what we're here for. No. We have to make a living. Yeah. But that's not what it's about. So don't ever give in to those things is my point. But Patricia, honestly, there's not much more that I can tell you about this because I don't feel like this was even valid, that it was even something that you should worry about or your daughter should worry about. And I would honestly be happy to even talk to your daughter and do the reading for her that she was looking for.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that kind of sounded like a bunch of baloney.
Yeah.
And based on kind of just your quick visions of what you're seeing for her, I don't get the feeling like she's surrounded by something negative spirit. I feel like she's surrounded by protection. And light. They're showing you good things, which means somebody's helping her. And I'm sure this is Patricia's probably family or extended family that are there.
Yes.
That are making sure.
Absolutely.
That these things will, happen.
Yeah. If somebody is a psychic and not a medium, because the difference is that a medium talks to spirits and usually a psychic doesn't. Now, I'm both. I have all of these abilities, but some psychics don't have that medium ability. They can't talk to spirits. They might see things and feel things, but they don't connect and they don't know what they're feeling or hearing and seeing. Right. So then they just kind of go with, I'm seeing this or
maybe
I'm
they're using
this.
Tarot cards and they don't know how to read.
There's so many things it could be, honestly, but this is why, like, before you get a reading from anybody, check into their, their references. Like, I have a Facebook page you can go to and see recommendations from people that I've done readings for. That's what you need to see. Because
and there was nothing really specific in there, right? Like,
no, she didn't give any specifics.
Just saying there's some bad energy.
Let me go back to it. A large group of people came forward out of concern for Haley.
Meaning from the other side.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But concern for what? A good medium will tell you concern for what?
Yeah, that's a little too
there should have been
vague in general.
There should have been, because if there is something that we're told to watch out for, let's just say she was going to come in contact with like an abusive person, like maybe mom was going to date somebody that was going to be sexually abusive. They would tell me that. Right. They would tell me that. Yeah. These things they will tell us. They're not going to try and hide that if they're coming forward for protection. So just know, a good medium will tell you the details, not just, there's a bunch of people surrounding and they're looking out for something. Well, what's the something?
That's a very blanket
It's very, statement. You need more to that for sure. Yeah. So I hope that helps Patricia, and I hope it calms you down a little bit, because I don't feel anything there. I mean, of course, we all have trials and tribulations in our lives, but I don't see anything like her life being cut short or major illness or anything like that to worry about.
That's good.
At all. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for reaching out, Patricia.
Yes. Thank you. Love that, actually. Yeah. It's fun to do different ones like that sometimes,
Totally.
Yeah. So that's all I got for you.
All right, then. Episode 148, How Wounds Can Be Gifts. Is this possible?
It is, and it is possible. And you were talking a little while ago about perception. And this is a lot about perception. Mm-hmm. If you're not healed, if you're not interested in being healed, you won't be able to look at your wounds as gifts. Mm-hmm. I always have taken some of my wounds and thought of them as gifts, others not so much. And now I'm starting to see, wow, everything really that has happened to me in my life has happened for a reason, for me to be able to help other people. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people wouldn't see that. And so that's kind of what we're hoping to show in this episode today is that there is a reason, and there is, for your wounds, there is healing for sure. So some of my research that I did on this isn't really a researchable, episode. This is mostly like our listeners again talking, but I got some good things here, from different, like even psychiatrists that talk about these things. Mm-hmm. This isn't just a spiritual topic. No. This is also very much a mental health type of topic. Mm-hmm. Deeply buried wounds from childhood or even adulthood can have impacts on our happiness even decades later without us even realizing it. We can think that we're completely healed from something and not be. Right. These wounds can be large or small. They can be a loss of a loved one, it's any form of abuse, bullying, divorce, neglect, anything at all that leaves us feeling traumatized or feeling like we have a wound, whether it's big or small. Yeah. Most people suffer from wounds of some kind, if not everybody. We were watching this show last night, and there was a part where the lady, I can't remember what her name is, she's on NBC News or something, and she starts talking about how her mother told her, because this lady had cancer, her mother told her everybody has something. Everybody has something they're battling at the time or that they have battled. Mm-hmm. Nobody gets through this life without something. Nope. And for me, that's actually very comforting. Yep. It's helpful for me to know that everybody has something.
I don't think one person has walked this earth that didn't have some sort of emotional or even physical wound that has changed them in a way.
I actually asked our listeners this. I asked them, I said, I'm looking for anyone that doesn't have wounds. I'm trying to prove we all have them. So please tell us, do you have wounds from your past? And every single person said yes. And a couple of the statements were, Amy said, we definitely all have them in one way or another. Chelsea said, wound-free. I should write a fictional book on how being wound-free is this in this wounded world makes you wounded. And then Jennifer said, I have lots. They have now hardened, and I use them to help others with my stories.
You know what? And it's part of our learning experience in our lives. Yeah. In any life that we live, that we've got to feel things that aren't pleasant.
Yes. Yes.
And it's to teach us exactly, I think, like you opened it with, and that is, what is your perception? Mm-hmm. Are you the victim? Is this all only happening to you? Or is it impossible for you to heal from this? Right. It's challenging you.
Yes.
It's seeing if you will step up to the gift.
Yes.
That's given, no matter what it is.
What it is. I'll tell you on this spiritual journey that I have been faced with so much different stuff. And I feel like every time that I conquer one thing, then I'm faced with something else. Mm. And a lot of people would look at this as being, a roller coaster of life or whatever. I look at it as this is how it's supposed to be. Yeah. I seriously look at it as like a video game. This is the next level of my video game. This is what I'm being challenged with now. That perception that has changed in me has changed a lot of things for me, and it makes life easier to live when you can view it that way. It really does. Yeah. When you view your wounds as a gift instead of an injury, it can change the entire experience, the way you look back at it even. Whoa, like, wow, I didn't see it for that way now. Going through my divorce, that was very painful, and I cried every day and thought, when is this ever going to be over? And I look back now and I think I went through that for so many reasons, and I'm so thankful that I did. And that wound used to open up a lot, and but it doesn't anymore. It's healed. But you can't see that a lot of times when you're right smack in the middle of it,
No, you can't. Yeah. I think there was something in my mind, too, as like a younger kid, thinking that, once I don't live at home anymore, a lot of my issues would go away.
Yeah.
And the truth is that was just the beginning.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
There was not to be like a stormy cloud, but there was a lot more to face.
Yes.
Once I left home, you know, relationships and jobs but divorce, that was a big one, you know, children.
Yes. I feel like what's happened to me in my life, I have been used as an example for people to see that you can go through a lot and come back from it, and you can be stronger, and you can be successful, and you can be all this stuff. So I don't look at it. I look at it as like I'm helping everybody with what I've been through. It's not a problem for me, you know. Even like this new family thing, I've had a lot of people say this must be, you know, traumatizing. You know what? It's just hard adjusting to a different way of life. Like I've never had a man that I've said, "Hi, Dad," or anything like that, or been able to talk about with a sibling, like call them Dad. So there's things that changed there. But I got mad with my mom at first, and then I let it go.
Right.
Is it painful? Yeah, sure. Yeah. But man, the amount of people I'm going to be able to help with this story, you know.
But the truth too is that these things that occur to us, you know, the wounds that happen to us really do sculpt us into who we are in a lot of ways, meaning those things that happen may really make one person focus on them and make sure that they don't do this. And then others, it may be so heavy on them that they just keep repeating the pattern.
Yeah, absolutely.
I kind of look at like an analogy of like every one of us being, as far as in bodies on this planet, like going to this giant museum of all these sculptures, you know, like the old Roman sculptures that there's an arm or a leg missing kind of, but they're still beautiful.
They are.
Every curve of the body, you know, and okay, they're naked, whatever, but they're still beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And even though that something's broken or cracked, it's still a part of that piece.
Yes.
That makes it unique. And that is often how I try to see this, because I go, wow, yeah, there's been a lot of crappy things that happen to people in this world, but there's a lot of beauty there.
Yes.
And it's challenging us to try to find that beauty.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because that is something that was brought up in the discussion group, is how wounds, they break you open, but they break you open a lot of times for the spiritual light to come into. I wrote this down. I wrote, wounds rip us open and create a hole that can actually become a portal, so to speak, to the spirit world. I didn't have my spiritual awakening when my mother died, but I truly believe I had my spiritual awakening because of the death and other things that I had been through. It happened like less than a year after my grandmother died, and my life, like our lives, drastically changed after my grandmother died. Like everything changed. Yeah. And so I believe absolutely that allows our loved ones to come into us, to come to us and tell us, you know, what's going on, and fill us full of love, so that we can see that there's something else going on here. Because when we don't have those cracks, we don't usually, well, a lot of us can think deep, but a lot of times those cracks are what make us think deep. It is. It brings it to us, you know.
And so, it's those little bits of, you know, it's in our personality.
Yeah.
That shows, you know, it's mainly the big focus for me has been like these wounds and breaking that cycle, that chain, and choosing to take a different path in my life than what I grew up seeing.
Yes.
That in itself is a gift.
Yes.
Because when I can go, no, I want to raise our daughter different than maybe what I see other people doing, or maybe part of what was done to me. I want to do it different.
Yeah.
And that's a gift.
It is.
Because I'm looking at it different. I'm not wanting to take it out on her, what happened to me.
Right.
And see what I mean? Right. Because that's just going to keep it perpetuating.
Yep. Absolutely.
She'll then have the potential to take it out on her children, and then so on and so on. This is what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, the wound has to stop with us, and then we don't spread it to the next person, because that absolutely does happen a lot of times, especially with like childhood abuse and stuff. You know, the person that's abused looks at it as a rite of passage to do it to the next person because it was done to them, and somebody has to be the cycle breaker. Right. You know, and you and I have both said we're the cycle breakers, and honestly, that's the biggest reason that I did not have kids of my own, was because I was afraid of any of the mistakes that my mother made, because it's just hard, you know. You find ways to cope with it, and that was just the best way to cope with it. But I never will repeat the things that she did.
It's funny because, you know, you said you feel like that you had a spiritual awakening as a result of your mother passing.
Yeah.
And I haven't had like a loss, like a parent, you know, thank God yet. But I feel like it came in a time where it was becoming apparent my role as a parent to her.
Yeah.
And so I needed to have a greater understanding of all this, because my responsibility, or our responsibility, would be greater.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I really feel like the spiritual awakening caused us to heal in a lot of those areas. We've done a lot of work on ourselves. Because when you have a child, a lot of times if they're having a problem, it might trigger a memory or something, and that might set you off. So I started noticing that with Marina, and so I had to start doing some inner child work and dealing with my own issues so that I could help her deal with hers, instead of repeating the same mistakes that my mother did. Right. You know, and that's not easy to do, but it's really what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, and then if you have, like, let's say abandonment issues, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can take that out into a social form.
Oh, yeah.
Without even really realizing it. You know, the type of people where, and I was a lot like this, and you know, if somebody doesn't respond right away.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on?
Right.
What, you know, and you're hanging on the edge of your seat, like, come on, people have lives. They got to do things. Yeah. Sometimes people get old and they forget, and you might have to remind them. But not everybody's abandoning you.
No.
You know?
That's a good one. Absolutely. That's a big, and that was something in my research too, that they did bring up, because the abandonment issues trigger so many things that you don't even realize that you're doing, you know? Yeah. And we don't realize what really abandonment issues are. It doesn't mean that a parent was absent. It means that they did things that they mentally were absent. I mean, there's a lot of things it can mean, but just mentally being absent. They could be there physically, but
left
mentally
you feeling alone.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was joking with my sister today that I've been an adult since I was like 7 years old.
Yeah,
and it wasn't because my mom wasn't physically there. It's because she wasn't emotionally there, and that can cause a lot of wounds in a child that will be wounds as an adult if you don't work on them, you know, and realize that these are not your issues. You didn't cause these issues. The things that happened to me or to you or to any of our listeners when they were children is not a result of who we were as children. It's a result of our parents' issues and what maybe happened to them. Right. And we just have this tendency a lot of times to carry on those things, and we have to stop it, you know.
Yeah, I think it is just a repeating cycle. Yeah. And there's generations that come along and decide we don't want to do it that way.
Yeah, exactly. So coming back to the spiritual awakening thing, I did ask our listeners about this. I said, did a wound or healing of one lead to your spiritual awakening? And Lori said, and Lori was Jehovah's Witness, so she says, yes, I read a book exposing the truth about the religion I was raised in. I spent 2 weeks in bed grieving the fact that I was lied to and that I'd wasted so much of my life believing something that had limited me in so many ways. But it freed me of guilt and fear, and from that point on, I began to explore things I'd never allowed myself to explore in the past. I was open to a whole new world, and I sucked it up like a sponge. That was 9 years ago, and I'm still exploring and learning. Once you are awake, you cannot go backwards, only forwards. You cannot unlearn being awake.
That's
true.
So true, yeah.
It is.
I just said that to the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't unsee it now. Like, I can't.
You're screwed now. You're in.
Yeah.
Once you're awake, you're always awake. You can pretend it's not there, but you know it's there.
Yeah,
we
you
all
can
do.
check out, but you can never leave.
There you go. That's so true. Let's see. You cannot unlearn being awake. You can only get better at it. Being awake has allowed me the freedom to partake in all that life has to offer. I consider myself healed in that respect. And I think that's beautiful.
Good for you that, that you went
Lori.
and, that you sought truth on your own. Yeah. And it's like, it revealed itself to you.
Yep. And she's been shunned by her family for it because they remain Jehovah's Witness.
And that's, and I'm sorry for that, Lori. That sucks. That's sad. But that's something that it doesn't diminish the pain of losing a family and being shunned or abandoned, because that sucks. Yeah. But that's something they have to face in their review. Yep. Like when it's their end and they're looking at their life and what they did. That is something that, it's a big... They'll be enlightened. Put it that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. What else do we have? So if you're still suffering from these wounds, and you've never really gotten over it, it's really, that's the most important part of healing. And a lot of times we don't even realize that we haven't healed from it yet. We can say, oh yeah, I've, whatever, it is what it is. I put it behind me. But the thing is that especially with the childhood abuse, you have this child in you, this inner child that needs to be comforted and told it's okay. Yeah. And until you really do that, and until you, they say forgive and forget, okay? But I really like forgive and accept more so. It's okay to forgive the people that hurt you the most. Yeah. It really is actually an important part of life, and it's an important part of healing.
It's an important part of our lesson here.
Yeah, it really is.
Because you've got to let that go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it really isn't easy to look at the wounds that we have, but they really can be evidence of wisdom. It's not a weakness, these wounds that we have. I think you're more wise when you go through these things and you analyze them yourself and you pull yourself apart. That for me has been in the spiritual awakening. The thing that I had to really open my eyes to was accepting me for me. Right. Yes, I changed a lot, but I had to accept what I had been through, where I was at that point, and realize that I want to change. I want to heal those wounds so that I can look at them as gifts. My mother dying was the worst thing that ever happened to me up to this point in my life, and I hope it's the worst thing that will ever happen. I can't go through something like that again, and anybody that's been through it, they understand that. That is a wound that I feel... it's closed, but it can open when you're missing somebody and you're mourning somebody. But my mother changed my life after she died. Mm-hmm. She has completely changed my life. Yeah. And because of that, I do look at her death as a gift now. Right.
And you know what? She brought me to believe a lot of this because I can see it. I could feel her now. Yeah. But I could see it very early on before I could even feel her. I can't really... Sometimes I hear her, it's just, I don't have a greater connection like you by any means, but she also brought me to see that there's other people that I know that are there as well, that are affecting other people's lives. And the more I paid attention to that, I couldn't ignore that. Right. Yeah. I was like, wow, that person's life is being affected too. And the more I thought about it, like Marina with her grandmother, it's like, wow. Huh. Yeah. And that has nothing to do with your story. Right. And Linda's. Right. It's something separate, but I would have never seen it had I not been with you and gone through this experience and see this happen. Yeah. And then the evidence is there then every day, like I said, and I can't unsee it anymore.
Yeah, it's like Lori said, it's there. It's there in front of you, and if you let it, they will continue to teach you and show you more and more, and then you really can't go back.
Yeah, I feel like it's that dropping of the breadcrumbs in the forest. Yeah. So you can see your way. Yeah. I was telling you, I actually went to that hockey game that I had been talking about, and I went with a friend of mine that has been a best friend since 7th grade, and we always have a lot to talk about. And we kept good conversation, and the whole night kept going. But you know what I realized is that
I've changed so much that I don't relate to muggles anymore. Like the people that aren't into this, it's hard for me to have a conversation because I have to like edit what I'm saying now. So it gets to this point where it does become like your life if you let it, I don't know. But I wanted to say about that game, because I had told you guys that game I had been given tickets to. They were free, and I had asked my mom for a Christmas gift, and that's what I got. But the game was rescheduled. It was originally December 22nd, and it was rescheduled because of COVID. And so I went this past Tuesday. And one of the most amazing things happened, as it always does, because I know my mom so well. She always has a reason for everything. My favorite Kings player, who's been my favorite player for 12 years now or something, he was given an award that night for his thousandth game. If we would have gone to the December 22nd game, I wouldn't have got to see that whole ceremony. And it was so cool.
That's awesome.
So cool. So I totally believe in everything happens for a reason. Again, I wanted to share that story because you can see how the universe will set these things up for us. So when we have like a situation where we're bummed, like, oh, I didn't get to go to that game, there's a reason.
Right.
And sometimes it can be a really good reason like that. So I wanted to share that. Well, I had that up. But let's see. So I asked our listeners this. I asked, what wound do you have that eventually you realized was a gift? And Nicole said, my childhood home had abuse to where shame and physical abuse were used to control us kids. Due to that, I am like a perfectionist and work to where it's an advantage. I'm really good at what I do and I love it. There is a downfall when I make an error. My parents aren't there to blame me and shame me, so I do it. But seeing a therapist to let out all that stored anger and educating myself about this helped the type of trauma that I had and type of trauma helped me realize what I was doing. Now I am able to recognize when someone else doing this to themselves. Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
I relate.
I do too. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then let's see, there was another one here I wanted to read. Lori said, well, I suppose most people would say that the ex-husband cheating was a big, big blessing in disguise. I didn't see who he was until I divorced him. These things too, these things that we feel are going to tear us apart, they happen for a reason.
Right.
Sometimes it is to end the marriage, like in Lori's case. Sometimes it is to shed light on a situation in the marriage that needs to be dealt with, that's not being communicated about or whatever. There's reasons why these things happen. The universe always has a reason. Yeah. But we don't usually see them until the outside.
Yeah, and sometimes it feels like a forced thing. Like it just happened so quick and it was like, whoa, hey, but it is kind of forced. Like they're saying this needs to change and it needs to change quickly.
Yeah.
So depending on the situation is dependent on how quickly it's going to change.
Yes, absolutely. I want to read this one from Jackie, too. She said, I grew up with just my mother. My father worked abroad and didn't spend time with us when he was home. My mom worked 16 hours a day, and out of school hours, I would be with her. I had no siblings, and I was working evenings and weekends with my mom, so didn't really have any close friends. I felt angry and bitter and hard done by for so long. When my marriage fell apart at age 25 because of mental bullying, I had 2 babies, aged 3 and 1. Being a strong, independent girl kicked in. I did a great job bringing them up on my own, and now I am so happy on my own. In my life, I am so rich and blessed. And again, she went through a lot as a kid. And as somebody that grew up independent like that too, you may look at it as a fault. But when you need that independence and it kicks in, it's great, So I totally get what she's saying. Yeah. But that is, when you have an absent parent or whatever, we look at it a lot of times as something negative.
Another one would be a bad divorce, which a lot of us have had.
Yes.
Because when there's children involved and finance, it's so much different than maybe a divorce that's annulled 6 months later or whatever.
Or like mine without kids.
Or without kids. Yeah. It's not as... There seems to be one side or the other, and sometimes it's both, that it becomes a game of reputation.
Yeah.
Is how you can dog the other's reputation to get what it is that you want, whether it's more time with the kid or more alimony or more child support, whatever the game is. It's a really jacked up situation.
Yes.
And I see, and I went through a horrible one, and I see people on Facebook that out, just right out in the open and kind of wearing it on their sleeves, which I totally relate to the dilemma. But the problem is this putting out the wrong thing, especially for the children involved.
Yeah.
Because at some point, maybe somebody might see it, tell them, or they get old enough to get on there themselves, and then they see it.
Yeah.
It's just it's a bad thing. But when you're faced with the potential of, and I'll be honest with you, mine was tough for a lot of different reasons, but I'm a marijuana advocate. I've been for many years. And I became like the poster boy. This is right at the cusp of it becoming, it was already medicinally legal, but it's on the cusp of being recreationally legal. Yeah. And this became a big fight. Yeah. About how safe I am as a parent. Right.
Moms, a lot of times they do that. My mother did that too. They pick out what they can.
Yeah. And so you're kind of faced, not with a jury, but with a judge, and all these things about your life are coming forward and things like that. And just for me, just wanting my daughter to be happy. Yeah. If she said, I want to go to live with mom full time, I would have said, if you're happy.
Yeah, whatever you're happy.
I just want to be in your life.
Yeah.
That's all I've ever kind of wanted from the situation. And yet here we are. Yeah. It's a 360-degree turn. Yeah. And you realize that a lot of it just doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
And it's your perception. And I was feeling, and this is like right when I started.
When we started dating.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I'm blessed that you even stuck around for half of it, But yeah, it's just, and then looking at that and going, wow, all that pain and suffering that caused, look at the gift that came out.
Yeah, for sure.
It just became so relevant that every ounce of it was worth it.
Right. Yeah, and the universe has the way of doing that as well. It just has a way of working things out for you, even when you don't think that they're going to work out. Right. But those wounds, you're probably still healing those wounds to a certain extent. Yeah. They run deep. They do. Yeah. And a lot of times people don't want to heal. They say that they do, but they don't want to because it's hard. Healing is very hard. Admitting that there's a problem and that you need to heal yourself is like a big step. So, I mean, we're recognizing that you're a part of the problem yourself, in a situation is hard. And so once you recognize that, you can fix it. But you have to recognize it, And a lot of people aren't willing to say, I'm the part of this problem here, That with finding my dad now, that's the hardest part for me has been not being angry with my mom for all of the things that she made me feel about the man that wasn't even my father. Like, I don't think that we should at all be talking bad about, the other parent. Right. We should always try and encourage a relationship with the other parent, whatever we have to do, because all we're doing is damaging that child. All my mom did by saying the things that she did to me about John was damage me more. Yeah. And I look at that now and I go, I will never do that. Like Marina, if she needs to talk about anything, I will never put, you down or a mother down or anything, because that's not my right. She doesn't need to hear that. Right. She can make her own opinion on everything. And I wish my mom would have let me do that too, because this man that I grew up thinking was my dad, I hated him because of the things that she said. Right. He didn't give me, I didn't get a chance to get to know him because of all the things that she said. And that's just horrible. We shouldn't do that to our kids. No. It's, But these are the wounds that run deep. They do. They run deep. And we have to find ways to heal them. And, like I said, it's not easy.
It's not. Healing is feeling, and a lot of people don't want to feel. Yeah. But there is that old saying, you got to go through it to get to it. Yeah. So if you deal with it, there's no way that you won't reap some benefit
right.
from just facing it,
right.
acknowledging it, accepting it. Like you said, you can't forget it.
No.
But we're not ever going to forget the things that have happened. We've got to take a different perspective
right.
about it.
Yeah. And really, it comes down to the perception of things. And like everybody's story is different. Okay. So we all have wounds that maybe we don't think can be healed. Mm-hmm. Okay. But every person is individual. So like there was someone that commented in the group about how it would be hard to say like to a Holocaust survivor, that everything happens for a reason. Okay. Yeah. But that person that went through that, for them, they may see that everything happens for a reason. They may see it could have changed their life in some way. Maybe they wrote a book about it or whatever. We don't know what their situation is. I used to have a hard time, and I still kind of do, when we go places and see, especially older men, like elderly men sitting by themselves eating. It would drive me insane. Right. But then one day I heard my mom say, "You don't know his story.
Yeah,
this is your perception.
Right.
He may be happy. You don't know."
Yeah.
And it's like that with anything. Mm-hmm. You may, like myself, people that know me, that know what I've been through, they may look at me and go, "Whoa, how can she say that everything happens for a reason?" Right. But the list of things that I've suffered in my life, everything on that list that I said,
right.
everything. And I can say to you that every one of those things was a gift mm-hmm. in a lot of weird, messed up ways. But it was.
It is.
And that's my perception.
It is true. Like, how would you look at a Holocaust victim or someone's slavery and say, this was a gift?
Right.
Right? Of course, that is completely awkward to even imagine. But we're coming from the standpoint of, this is one of many lives.
Yes.
That you live. And for all I know, I could have been one of them. In another life. Totally. and experienced something that horrific. Mm-hmm. Does it mean it was a gift? No, but there was something to learn.
Yeah.
And we don't know what that soul's contract was when they came into that life.
Right.
That's also our understanding and our belief, is that everything is prearranged and decided before you come here, because we are supposed to learn these things.
Right.
Because how can we be of any help in heaven if we can't learn the lessons here?
Right.
Yep. So we're still going to learn in heaven, but a lot of the school, this is like express schooling, if you will.
Right.
Where it's hands-on.
Yeah.
It's not textbook, it's hands-on.
I think that's one of the things that if more people could change their perception on, that they would see this more, is that we are here for a reason. Mm-hmm. We are here for many reasons, and it's for our own personal reasons. And it's not to sit around and do nothing and, let this life slip by. It's about learning the lessons. It's about becoming a whole soul and a good person. Like, really, that's what our soul's journey here is to become a complete whole soul. And in order to do that, you have to work on these things. You have to become more open to, I'm not perfect, and I have things I need to change about myself, and I have things that I've been through, so that you can become that more whole person. Now, healing, I heard this while you were talking. Mm-hmm. Healing doesn't mean not feeling the feelings anymore, okay? Like, I can still cry really good about my mom, mm-hmm. but I would say that I am healed from that I have accepted it, that it happened for a multitude of reasons, mm-hmm. but it still hurts. Sure. It doesn't make the pain not go away. Yeah. So don't think that if you still cry over things, even if they happened 20, 30, 40 years ago, that you're not healed and that wound is open, because that's not the case at all.
A part of crying about it is healing.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's what I got for you today, my love.
Very good.
Yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed that, got something out of it.
Yeah, and thank you for everybody that participated. Again,
oh, yes, I love our discussion group. They're great.
They are, and I've been not that great about being in there as much as I should, and I've been trying to just at least read everything that I see, and it's cool. It's really neat to see. What I appreciate is people shedding their exterior or their armor and sharing about themselves.
Yes.
Like, it's vulnerable, it's scary, it's hard.
Yes.
But I love the fact that people can trust it, that it's cool, it's okay.
It's a safe place.
Yeah, it's all right, because not one of us have ever walked this earth that don't have some kind of wound.
Yep. Not one of us.
And if we taught each other to talk about it and to not sweep it under the rug and think it's not there, if we taught every generation to do this, I think we'd have a lot less of issues.
Yes.
Within ourselves, you know, we'd probably have a lot less suicides.
Yeah.
A lot less depression, murders, crime. I think it's just, we just don't love on each other enough and make it okay.
Right. And we don't forgive each other enough because we all make mistakes.
Yes.
And you know what? People do change. And if you are always holding against somebody what they've done in the past, then they don't have an opportunity to show you that they've changed, you know? Yeah. So we have to allow people that opportunity and be open to our change and their change, you know, really.
It's cool.
But as far as our discussion group goes, it is a safe place for our listeners to discuss things. It's a private group. Nobody on the outside sees what's going on. And I keep a close eye on it. So if there's any kind of riffraff, so to speak, they get kicked out really fast. So if you want to talk about this stuff in a safe environment and with, you know, your fellow tribe and peers that love this kind of stuff as well, join the discussion group. There's a link always on our page, on our Facebook page, that will give you, like, each week when I put the episode up, it's there for you.
It's cool.
Yeah. So
thanks for doing it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's fun to interact with everybody and see that the way they interact with each other.
Yeah.
Because they're also making friends in the group.
Friends.
Yeah, we like friends.
Well, before then, to wrap it up, before we say goodbye to our friends, do you want to share your information?
Yes, my website is SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. You can schedule an appointment, do all that stuff there, find the podcast and everything. If you'd like to get in touch with us at the show, you can message us at spiritualjoneses@gmail.com. We love your questions, comments, ideas. We love it all.
Yes, we do.
And then you, sir.
Yes, for my art, djonesartcollection.com, for the web, at djonesartcollection, for Facebook and Instagram. And that's it. Oh, we have rehearsal on Thursday, which was really cool. So
yeah.
It was
back
good.
Playing music.
Yes, very exciting.
Yeah.
We have a new member, David James.
Yay.
So he's rocking on the guitar.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's all I got.
Great.
Well, we hope everybody got something out of this week. Thanks for the participation, everyone.
Yes, thank you again.
And we hope everybody has a great week.